Hello, this is another one of my videos on Alistair Parker's short history of the Second World War. This one, the first section in Chapter 3 on Britain alone from 1940 to 41. The other sections in this chapter will be about the Battle of Britain and the Blitz, the War of the Atlantic, and the situation in the Middle East and Greece, and Britain's growing dependence on the USA. This is Churchill, the dominating figure of the period in British politics and wartime leader for most of Britain's World War II. He was Prime Minister from the 10th of May, taking over from Neville Chamberlain, who by that time had been discredited, and then remaining in office until the 26th of July 1945, which is before the end of the war, when he was defeated in a general election. He was Prime Minister again in 1951-55. Churchill became British Prime Minister on the 10th of May, replacing Neville Chamberlain, by then discredited. As you'll remember from the previous video, the 10th of May is also the date on which Germany invaded France and the Low Countries, and very soon, before the end of the month, the British expeditionary force was having to be evacuated from Dunkirk, and on the 16th of June, effectively all French resistance to the German advance came to an end. So this is a very dire moment in terms of European history. Churchill was already pre-war seen as very prescient. He had alleged, as it proved to be correctly, the British pre-war rearmament was inadequate, especially in aircraft. He had prophesied that the supposed salvation of Munich, the agreement Chamberlain had worked out with Hitler, would be soon followed by the destruction of Czechoslovakia. He was known for his zealous support of resisting German aggression and seen as an energetic minister by the public as well as politicians. On the 18th of June, Churchill announced in a very famous quotation, "The Battle of France is over. I expect that the Battle of Britain is about to begin." But could Britain continue to resist? Germany had defeated France and had occupied a number of European countries. Britain, in Europe at least, stood alone. It obviously had the support of members of the empire. Would the population of Britain accept the risks involved? Churchill sought to rally the British. His speeches in this regard were extremely powerful. From the start, he foretold hardships and dangers, presenting peril as exhilarating. He combined uplifting calls to duty with cloudy but encouraging visions of a better future. His imprecision avoided details of defense or precise war aims. He spoke emotionally, forestalling reasoned controversy. His speeches had a literary merit which ensured that they were listened to and remembered. They had a rolling magnificence. As he later wrote, "Rhetoric was no guarantee of survival, but it helped." In his first speech to the House of Commons after assuming office, he said, "I have nothing to offer," and this again is a very famous quotation, "but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. We face many long months of struggle and suffering." Again, on the 18th of June, "Hitler knows that he will have to break us in this island or lose the war. The whole fury and might of the enemy will soon be turned on us." Although Hitler hoped for a compromise peace with Britain, its terms were never made clear, and Churchill was probably correct in thinking that Hitler would require at the least complete British disarmament. Few in Britain, apart from the Duke of Windsor and a few diplomats, took the idea of negotiations seriously. The Germans were beginning to prepare plans for invasion by the end of June, and this was formally accepted by Hitler on the 2nd of July, believing that a display of force would be needed to bring the British to reason. However, on the 3rd of July, the British displayed their determination to resist when British warships bombarded the French fleet at Mirs al-Kabir in Algeria. The French fleet was powerful and effective. Under the Franco-German armistice, French warships were to be disarmed under German or Italian supervision, but the British were unsure whether that would be what would happen. The British wanted to ensure that French ships would never be used against them if they were to fall into enemy hands intact. Within 10 minutes, 3 major French warships were put out of action, and over 1,000 French sailors were killed. Roosevelt's associate in America, Harry Hopkins, later stated that this action was what convinced Roosevelt that Britain would fight to the end. By the 17th of July, the German army had produced its invasion plan. Landings along the southern English coast, along 200 miles, with 90,000 men in the first wave, and 260,000 men landed by the third day, was the objective. The German Navy, however, objected that it would be hard to assemble enough ships to transport so many men, and impossible to protect them from the British Air Force and Navy, and a more focused plan was produced along a narrower stretch of coast. Operation Sealion, as it was called, was to be ready by the 15th of September. Against the 10 divisions in the revised plan to be landed within the first 11 days, followed by another 17 divisions thereafter, the British at that time only had 27 divisions, but only 4 of these were fully equipped, including one Canadian division. There was also a major lack of equipment because so much had been abandoned in the Dunkirk evacuation. The Germans respected the fighting quality of the British soldiers, but regarded their command system as being ineffective in mobile warfare because of a lack of flexibility in command. The German Navy remained pessimistic and were well aware of British naval superiority. The army, however, minimized this view. Jodl saying that it would be like crossing a river over a broad front. The German Air Force, it was believed, would compensate for British naval supremacy. So that's all I'm going to say for the moment. Many thanks to you for listening, and particular thanks to my patrons for their kind support and encouragement. Next week, we'll talk about the Battle of Britain and the Blitz, and then the week after, we'll talk about the war at sea. Do like, comment, and share on the videos if you want. You're very welcome to do that. Subscribe if you want to be notified of future videos. I'll give Patreon and PayPal links below if you want to provide practical support. Have a good day.